All right. So I'm here with Austin
Unruh.
Austin Unruh.
Yes.
And Austin Unruh, that's his wrestling name, is with Trees for Graziers, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I'm actually going to steal this guy right here. So I found Austin's like a minor celebrity that I met at the Ohio Grazing Conference. And
very small crowd.
Very small crowd.
Very niche crowd.
So I found his book. I think it was in one of Greg Judy's books, actually, referenced to you or something. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Which is pretty cool. So I read the books and then found his book, and bought the book, and then we implemented on our farm a bunch of those practices, which were pretty cool. And it's, you walk by and you're like, holy moly, it's like the guy who wrote the book, right? Although I think I've heard that Joshua's done all the work, but I don't know. It's like, not sure.
Well, we have a crew of 9 right now.
A crew of 9.
I really don't do. It seems like I really don't do much work at all anymore, for better or worse.
That's
mostly
a good thing.
Mostly it's just corralling the team anymore.
I understand.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So. What do you guys do? So, I mean, silvopasture is kind of the whole big deal of what you guys do, but, you literally wrote a book on silvopasture, so that's kind of a big deal.
Yep.
These things, which we have these sticking out of the ground all over our farm, give us like a 2-minute synopsis of what you got going on. Yeah.
So what we do is our goal is to make adding trees into pasture as easy as possible for farmers. So we do that by making sure that we're providing all of the services that are needed in order for a farmer to have trees established on their farm. So we are doing the planning. We provide planning services. We can help people find funding to do tree planting. We have a nursery where we're growing silvopasture specific stock. We have a planting crew, and then we take care of the trees once they've been planted. So oftentimes we're able to offer this whole package for free or low cost to farmers because we're also able to go out and find funding that reduces the cost of planting trees.
Like an NRCS type thing?
NRCS or water quality groups or such like that.
Yeah.
We've also figured out some ways to make it really easy to get trees into pastures where rather than having to take land out of production for 5 years until those trees are large, we can use tree shelters like this to protect the trees while the pasture is being actively grazed. Sure. So let me just show you what this is.
Yep.
So this is a plastic tree tube, and there's a fiberglass stake on the inside. These are made by a company called Plantra. They're based out of Minnesota. This is the system that we use for just about everything. If it's a cattle system, we use a 6-foot tube like this. If it's sheep, we can go with a 5-foot tube instead.
Cool.
The nice thing about this is the fiberglass stake is very flexible. It won't rot. So it stands up to quite a bit of livestock interaction, wildlife interaction.
We can confirm that too. So like you'll see before we try, and Austin has a better way of keeping the cows off the stands. We'll see the cows because they like to rub on stuff, right? These things will be going this way and that way and everything else, and they hold up pretty darn well.
They do pretty well,
which is good. Yeah.
But if you have too much trouble with rubbing, and most of our sites we just set these up so that livestock will not rub on the tree shelters because we're running a poly wire out here. So we'll connect the poly wire across the whole row of trees, and then we'll take an aluminum wire and we'll wrap that wire around this tree tube so that if livestock try to rub up on them, they'll feel it pretty quickly.
That's awesome. That's cool.
So that's one way to do it, and that way livestock can freely move throughout these trees, throughout rows of trees, unhindered. And then you can set up your paddocks however large or small as you want them. The other way that we do it is we'll put a poly wire around here as a paddock division, and that way your row of trees can double as a row of fence posts, and you can set up your paddock division that way.
Yeah, and it's and that's what we do. So we have, if you watch in our videos, you'll see these things like these sticks in the field. They look like from a distance, and we run our poly wire along them, and that's our paddock division, which is nice. Eventually, we'll get shade from these trees too. That's really why. Well, two reasons why we planted them. One is forage. And the other is shade. So we have old hay field is what our pastures are, an old row crop field from 80 years ago. We have zero shade, and cattle put on more weight when they have some shade in the summer to shield them from the heat because they can continue eating. But I think, I'm trying to remember what we ordered from you, Austin. I think it was a hybrid willow, hybrid poplar, and we may have had some mulberry that we ordered as. Do you remember what
sounds right?
It was honey locust. Thank you. And mulberry, although the mulberry is this year, but the honey locust, so what we have now are the hybrid willow, hybrid poplar, and the honey locust. And the willow and the poplar are what provide the forage, right?
So it depends on what kind of forages you're looking for. So the willow and poplar, we think of those as our fast-growing shade trees. They're going to be there probably for a short term, but they're going to get our shade established in 3 to 4 years. You're going to have some decent shade coming off of those trees.
Cool.
Whereas our honey locust, it might be 5 or 6 years until you're getting shade off of that tree. And eventually, we might just cut out all of those fast-growing shade trees. Yeah. So we have our longer-term trees, like our honey locust or a persimmon or a mulberry, that are going to be there for the next 100 years.
Yep.
But for fodder, so your willows are going to produce a lot of fodder, and it's going to be higher in tannins, which in some scenarios, like a small amount of tannins is great. Yeah. In some scenarios, you might want quite a bit of tannins, especially if you have like toxic fescue that you're dealing with, because those tannins can help offset the negative effects of the fescue.
Like a Kentucky 31 type
exactly.
thing? Okay,
exactly. And in some areas, if you've got fescue, you know you got fescue because you're dealing a lot with it.
Yep.
The poplars are lower in tannins. They tend to not produce quite as much biomass in the leaves, but they can be consumed in larger quantities because they don't have the tannins. So they're more of like maybe a staple crop for as far as forages go for livestock. Yep. Black locust would be another one that has high tannins and is also a very fast-growing species. And then when we look at trees that are there to drop feed, so then we're talking about our honey locust, persimmons. Those are kind of the two ones that we work the most with. Honey locust in particular as kind of our #1 tree because it's very hardy. It grows well. It has a nice dappled canopy, so it allows a lot of light to come through and still get to the forages beneath. And then it has this pod that when it drops, it stays in good condition for several months after it's dropped. It drops during the late fall and the winter time period. So it's exactly when we need additional feed energy coming for our livestock going into those winter months.
And those are like super nutritious too, from what I understand.
Yep.
Yeah,
and a lot of sugar in particular.
So how do people find you?
Go to treesforgrazers.com. It's the best way to find us. We've been at this since 2020, so right now it's been 5 years, which is really not a long time in the tree world, right? Yeah. Things move kind of slowly and at their own pace in the tree world. So we've spent the last 4 or 5 years figuring out how do we get trees established in pastures? How do we protect them? What are some good establishment methods? And we figured that out pretty well. Our next phase that we're in right now is really working on the nursery stock. Yeah. Having silvopasture specific nursery stock, having the right genetics, having the right form. So a bare root tree is going to be a whole lot cheaper and it's going to ship easier than a potted tree, right? Yep. We can also grow it larger. Yep. And then having, instead of having a whole bunch of 12-inch trees, I want 6 foot tall. Right. I want a 6 foot tall bare root tree with the best genetics available. Yeah. So that's what we're working on now is developing the nursery side of things.
And the apple trees. We ordered some extremely interesting heritage breeds from Austin and his company. And we're very excited for them. They're very awesome.
So, and then on the apples, what we're doing there is standard rootstocks. So we want a very sturdy, long-lived apple rootstock that's going to be very low maintenance. And then on the tops, we want, again, very low maintenance cultivars. Yeah. So hardy. We know that our clients aren't going to be orchardists, right? Like you're not going to prune 100 trees that are there for your livestock. Right. We want these to be low maintenance, low disease pressure, low pest issues, and that's what we're after for all of the trees that we're planting. But in the apples in particular, we're doing something that most apple producers aren't doing. Because apple producers, most are growing on dwarf rootstock, and they're planting apples for the taste or the crisp or the bite, and they're going to spray a whole lot. So it doesn't necessarily matter that they're really low maintenance. And in our case, we want the lowest maintenance, most resilient trees as possible for our grazing scenarios.
We're stoked for that, man, and keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Austin Unruh, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much.
Yep.